The first of
Your greatest desire is happening.
Just stop!
We are cleaning up your mess.
The new series. The war between the land and the sea begins with a boat speeding across the ocean, where a captain is fishing with his crew. When they pull up their fishing net, they suddenly hear strange screams coming from the net full of fish. Everyone becomes shocked and scared. The captain immediately grabs his gun and points it at the net, and in that moment, a terrifying sea creature emerges from it. Without thinking, he shoots it on the spot. After this, we cut to a deep, silent night where a man is sleeping when suddenly his phone starts ringing at 1 a.m. This is our lead character, Barkley. He checks the call and instantly jumps out of bed. He rushes toward his daughter Kirby's room, waking her up because he has just been called in for emergency duty. There has been a massive oil spill in Scotland, and Barkley must report immediately. He gets Kirby ready to drop her off at her mother's house. When they come downstairs, Sergeant Chakri is already waiting in the car. Barkley tells her that they first need to drop Kirby in Fulham, and the two drive off quickly. Kirby is dropped off safely with her mom.
When are you back?
Oh, I can't tell. I'll text.
On the way, Sergeant informs Barkley that he has been placed on board as a replacement for a man named Roger Trevithick, who is currently on a mission in Scotland, meaning Barkley has unexpectedly become Roger's substitute. When they reach their destination, General Austin welcomes them, though the atmosphere is tense and everyone seems uneasy. Soon after they board a plane, they must reach Cabrera by 9 a.m., from where they will travel to the island of Dragonera, heading toward a remote village called Cala Escondida. Barkley tries unlocking his tablet, but fails. The soldier sitting beside him, Corporal Pip, shows him a video of the mysterious sea creature, the same one from earlier, along with gunshots and horrifying screams. As daylight breaks during the flight, we learn something important. Back in 2020, Barkley had already replaced Roger once before, and it was a disastrous experience. In reality, Barkley is just a grade 10 civilian transport clerk, a simple man who books taxis and handles transport paperwork. But due to one stupid clerical mistake years ago, his name keeps getting automatically assigned as the replacement for the legendary field agent Roger Trevithick. Barkley has no real military training and barely understands such missions. After landing in Cabrera, they board a helicopter to reach the village. Soon they arrive at a military hideout, where the colonel greets them and leads them into a secure room. Hanging inside is the same terrifying sea creature that was shot at the beginning of the episode. Their mission was never about an oil spill. It was about this creature. The creature looks ancient and monstrous, something out of old sea devil legends, yet simultaneously something that could have evolved millions of years ago on Earth. Scientists studying it explain that this species branched off from early amphibians long before humans even existed. The colonel tells them that these beings are known as Homo Aqua. A scientist further clarifies that, based on their biological structure, they are classified as Homo spondyle erectus. The colonel discovers a natural pearl-like growth embedded in the creature's neck. The scientist confirms that they found a completely pure pearl inside the sea devil's throat. The colonel orders it to be embedded back into the creature's neck, and the team does so. Once the officers and scientists leave, Barkley approaches the creature, staring at it closely and showing a quiet moment of Christian respect. Meanwhile, at the beach, the military sets up electrical monitoring equipment. Moments later, they hear a high-pitched boom, a scream, followed by intense vibrations. The translation pulse has been activated. Night falls, and most of the soldiers settle down to sleep, while only two remain on duty in the creature's containment room, Corporal Morgan and Private Abdallah. They prepare coffee to stay awake when suddenly Morgan drops his cup. Instead of shattering, the cup sinks straight into the floor. The ground feels strange, soft, almost like quicksand. Their boots begin sinking as the floor splits open, revealing water rising from below. Before Abdallah can react, she is pulled downward and disappears beneath the surface. Morgan tries desperately to save her, but fails. Panicked, he grabs the radio to call for backup. The static wakes Sergeant Chakri, but before help arrives, an unseen force beneath the water drags Morgan down as well. Both soldiers vanish. Suddenly, another sea creature emerges and pulls down the hanging sea devil, rescuing its captured companion. Now it's clear. The water and collapsing ground were caused by the creature coming to save its own. Hearing the emergency alarm, the soldiers rush to the containment room. The captain informs the colonel that everyone is gone. Inside, the floor appears perfectly normal again, solid and untouched. The creature and the soldiers have disappeared. Barkley finds a half-buried chair stuck in the ground and pulls it out. As others approach, the colonel orders them to keep the area clear. He tries contacting the missing soldiers through the radio and hears a faint buzzing very close by. Following the sound, he kneels and listens to the floor. The team immediately begins digging and uncovers a sunken human hand, realizing the horrifying truth. Both soldiers are dead. All the soldiers now stand near the shoreline, where Barkley quietly tells the colonel that he has ended up here by mistake. He's just a clerk. The colonel informs him that he's here as a witness. According to unit regulations, any historic first contact requires the presence of a civilian observer, someone outside the military system who can officially record events. Sergeant Chakri is clearly annoyed and frustrated, but the rules cannot be changed. As Barkley and the colonel are still discussing the creature, sudden sounds rise from the sea. Soldiers rush into position, while Barkley is instructed to record everything with the camera. Just then, the sea creature emerges. When the unit establishes the first-ever verbal communication with this species, the tension is explosive. The translation through sonic pulse barely works, but shockingly, the creatures understand human language with ease. They accuse humanity of killing them. The soldiers argue back, insisting that 2 of their men were killed. The colonel extends an offer for a peace meeting, hoping to end this conflict and begin unity between land and sea. But the creature refuses, saying, "We would talk to all humanity." The translation glitches, making the meaning unclear. At the same moment, dozens more sea creatures rise from the ocean. Their message becomes obvious. They demand to speak not to a unit, not to a country, but to all of humanity. Fear spreads across the soldiers, though they attempt to maintain calm and push for peace. The creature finally agrees, but translation errors persist. When the operators ask for a clearer statement, the truth becomes unmistakable. The creatures are broadcasting to the entire world. Alarms start beeping on every device. The soldiers realize the signal isn't local. The creatures have spread across all the world's oceans, and indeed, we see massive sea devils rising from seas around the globe. Every news channel, every digital screen, every system becomes part of an open broadcast. Governments panic. World leaders scramble. News media explodes with updates. And instantly, the world gives this event a name: H2O diplomacy.
Waterway. It's a specific
Barkley meets his wife and daughter, telling them he's been promoted and is now part of the admin team, carefully avoiding any mention of the military operation. Meanwhile, all military officers gather in the main chamber. Political leaders from around the world join the unit command for high-level negotiations. At the center of it all stands Kate Lethbridge Stewart, Commander-in-Chief of the Unified Intelligence Task Force, trying to manage the immense pressure coming from every direction. The location chosen for this historic meeting is the Waterway, a newly built structure on the Thames, constructed on the request of the aquatic species themselves. Cameras whirl everywhere, reporters shout for attention, and security intensifies. When Barkley notices the drones filming, panic hits him. Everything will be broadcast live, and his family will see him, unaware that he's part of this mission. At the same time, Roger Trevithick finally arrives, but shockingly, he isn't allowed inside. After security rechecks, Kate orders Mrs. Bingham to activate the tanks and begin flooding them. The seals unlock, water fills the chamber, and workers rapidly stabilize the pressure. The water locks open, and sea species begin approaching the meeting tank. 2 unknown life forms are detected, massive, monstrous fish-like beings, welcomed as Piscimorpha grandis. One of the sea creatures signals the airlock, and the pumps activate. Another life form appears on sensors. A colonel warns Kate, but she insists they trust the process. Then, the figure emerges, a human-like sea creature, regal and commanding, almost like a mermaid. They identify her as Homo sapiens, the ambassador of her kind. Translators stand ready, and Ambassador Jonathan steps forward to welcome the aquatic delegation. But before he can speak, the device beeps. The Aqua Queen speaks first, and shockingly, she needs no translation. She speaks fluent English and Russian. During the formal exchange, the ambassador offers a symbolic gift, a snow plant, representing purity, honor, and peaceful intention. The queen accepts it, then presents a gift of her own. It is devastating. The bodies of her young children, killed by human pollution, especially oil poisoning. The moment is heartbreaking and cuts straight to the core message of the show. She says, "My children should have been born at the turn of the third cold current, but they choked on your oil, your poison, your excrement." Her grief and anger are unmistakable. Sir Jonathan steps forward to continue the negotiation, but the Queen immediately rejects him. "We do not know you," she says. "We will speak to him." She points at Barclay. Kate is shocked. "Who is he?" she asks. She's told he's just a witness, nothing more. But the Queen chose him because he had shown respect earlier, when he quietly offered religious reverence to the hibernating creature. The sea beings notice that moment of kindness. Barclay is stunned. Everyone around him freezes, shocked beyond words. Barclay's selection leaves everyone stunned. Unit officers, politicians, journalists, and even Barclay himself can't understand what just happened. Kate is visibly stressed. She is briefed on everything about Barclay. He's an ordinary clerk, not a diplomat, not a soldier, and certainly not someone meant for first contact negotiations. She confronts him directly, asking why the aquatic ambassador chose him. Barclay awkwardly guesses that maybe it's because he once kept a goldfish named Simon. Maybe it relates somehow. Meanwhile, the military immediately picks up his ex-wife and daughter for questioning. Investigators tear through Barclay's entire life, school records, personal emails, photos, old accounts, hoping to find some hidden connection to Homo Aqua. But they found nothing. Despite all the confusion, Barclay is suddenly thrust into the global spotlight. Ambassador Jonathan is pushed aside. Cameras, microphones, and politicians swarm Barclay from every angle. Reporters shout questions at him. Governments try to sideline him to regain control, but none of it matters because the Queen chose him. Jonathan urges Kate to talk to the sea creatures and convince them to reject Barclay. Kate holds an unscheduled meeting with them. But instead of reconsidering, the Queen, who now introduces herself as Salt, calls Barclay forward again and speaks to him directly. Barclay pleads with her, trying to explain that he's nobody special, but Salt refuses to reconsider. To her, Barclay represents humanity better than any politician or official, untainted by power, ego, or diplomatic posturing. Unit's formal request is rejected. Salt makes the final declaration. Barclay will represent humankind tomorrow morning as the official ambassador. Otherwise, the negotiations end forever. After this, Barclay is forcibly placed into a vehicle, where he becomes frightened when he sees Kate, thinking she might shoot him. She does have a gun, but she has no intention of killing him. Kate secretly brought Barclay here because she wants to talk to him. She wants to work with him and save the world. She convinces him by offering the hope of a better life. When Barclay steps out of the transport, Unit's General Dominique secretly takes his photo. After that, security around Barclay and his family is heavily increased. Unit relocates Barclay, his ex-wife Barbara, and their teenage daughter Kirby to a secured hotel, where they are constantly monitored. As Unit tries to understand the biology and psychology of Homo Aqua, a new complication emerges. Scientists guess that Homo Aqua may communicate through sound waves or implants. Salt quickly begins learning human behavior, even sarcasm and verbal humor. Seeing this, everyone realizes she is far more intelligent, adaptable, and unpredictable than they expected. In the lab, a scientist is examining sea creature eggs when a staff member joins her. Meanwhile, Barclay's family has also discovered his secret. His ex-wife becomes furious, and his daughter is upset but also surprised that her father has become an ambassador. During lab tests, a volunteer steals a sample slide. Later that night, during heavy rain, he hands the sample to a senior officer, who approves the boy's citizenship in exchange, but only his, not his mother's. The boy questions this, but the officer leaves without answering. When the officer returns home, he meets his wife Maria, then goes to meet his guests, 2 generals, and he hands the sample over to them. Here we see the same general who took Barclay's photo earlier. Then suddenly a photo of Barclay leaks to the media. Panic spreads everywhere. News channels become even more active. Politicians start fighting and blaming each other, and reporters begin surrounding Barclay. Kirby feels happy to see her father acting as an ambassador. Kate soon discovers that General Dominique was the one who took the photo, so Dominique's access to the hall is revoked. Barclay is prepared for the presentation and instructed to stick to the script. Finally, he appears before Homo Aqua as their ambassador. This is where Salt presents her first major and very unusual demand. She asks for a glass of seawater. The request is immediately fulfilled.
Go for 1 second.
and a glass of ocean water is brought forward. But Salt did not ask for the water for herself. She tells Barkley to drink it. However, the seawater is filled with toxic chemicals and dangerous bacteria. They quickly search for a safe alternative, but Salt insists on her original request. Everyone realizes that Salt does not want to harm Barkley. She wants humanity to face the truth of what they have done to their oceans. When Barkley continues reading his scripted lines, Salt stops him, telling him these are political lines, not his own words. Kate urges him to stick to the script, but Barkley abandons it and delivers an emotional, completely honest speech. He criticizes humanity for poisoning the earth, exposes greedy corporations, and calls for real change. Salt smiles faintly at his sincerity and says that Barkley is her favorite human. Scientists continue their research on the species. Barkley spends some time with his family. Then, once again, Barkley and Salt come face to face. This time, UNIT presents a slow, long-term plan stretching to the year 2065, focused on cleaning the rivers and oceans. Salt becomes furious. Her people are suffering and dying. They cannot wait 40 years. She demands immediate action. Barkley tries to calm her, saying they will increase funding and try to speed up the process. Salt agrees with Barkley, but her real question is whether the other members will fulfill her demands, and then everything explodes. Suddenly, oceans and rivers around the world throw back all the trash, plastic, and filth humanity had buried in them for decades. Massive tidal waves of garbage and sludge crash onto cities like London and Manhattan. Kate begs Salt to stop this, but Salt simply replies that they are just cleaning up the mess. Cars are crushed, roads vanish beneath piles of waste, and people run for their lives. Barkley's family is also trapped in this destruction. UNIT rushes all members to the lower levels for safety. People struggle to survive amid floods of water and mountains of debris. Barkley instructs his family to head toward a safe house, but their driver dies on the way, forcing Barkley to rescue them himself just in time.
From all over the world.
The world sinks into chaos. People scream, buildings collapse, and governments finally realize how powerless and irresponsible they have been.
With the damage bill in the
Barkley faces Salt once again, but this time, humanity sees destruction, death, and collapse. People demand a ceasefire and an agreement to halt the chaos. The Sea Devils offer peace, but with 3 strict conditions. First, humanity must immediately stop all pollution. Second, all the water on Earth and the sky now belong to Homo Aqua. This means no more ocean travel, shipping, fishing, naval movement, or global transport over the seas. As soon as this declaration is made, the global economy collapses. UNIT members erupt in outrage, threatening Salt, insisting she cannot decide the fate of humanity alone. Throughout this, Salt repeatedly focuses only on answering the ambassador's questions. When the crowd ignores her, her voice changes, shifting to a deep male tone, and she shouts, "Enough!" Suddenly, Salt herself transforms. Her voice and body change from female to male. Everyone panics. Barkley immediately apologizes on the UNIT's behalf and silences the rest, hinting that Salt may not be a single creature but a collective consciousness or shared identity. Homo Aqua demonstrates immense power even during negotiations. Salt then returns to her female form and presents the 3rd demand. The next meeting must take place underwater, in the Atlantic's Romance Trench, 5 miles deep, where even submarines cannot reach. She wants this because UNIT keeps insisting on equality and fairness, holding meetings in concrete halls that are harmful for her species. Now, she wants the meeting in her world, on her terms. UNIT tries to dissuade Barkley from agreeing, but without listening to anyone, he agrees to Salt's demand, ensuring the next meeting will take place beneath the ocean. The tension now lies in this question. Will Barkley venture into the depths and meet the Sea Devils in their territory, or will humanity face complete destruction? To find out, tune in to the next episode. Stay with us for the upcoming recap, and don't forget to like, share, and comment to share your thoughts. For more updates and exclusive content, subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching!